Hi, my name is Carrie Walker, and I'll be facilitating the Village's Health presentation on healthy eating out. Please keep in mind that the information contained in this presentation is for educational purposes only and should never take the place of advice from your healthcare professional. Eating habits in America have changed over the last few decades. In fact, we are spending almost half of our total dollars spent on food in restaurants, compared to 25% in 1955. In the villages, in particular, it's not uncommon that we're eating out at least 6 meals each week. The challenge is that when we eat out, overall, the menu items that we're choosing typically are higher in calories, lower in overall nutrients, and higher in fats than the meals that we prepare at home. Why do we eat out? Looking at this slide, I think that most of us can identify with almost all of these. There's a time factor, of course, for preparing and cleaning. Especially if you're retired, you may feel that you've cooked all of your life for your family and you want to take that time and enjoy it more for yourself. There's a lot of different celebrations, birthdays, anniversaries, grandbabies being born. There's a lot of different reasons we get together and celebrate, particularly if we're involved in different groups that we see each week. It's not uncommon after completing an activity or a golf game to meet for lunch or dinner or a snack or a cocktail afterwards. Certainly eating out is very convenient. And then, of course, I think Americans are busier than ever. It's almost something to be proud of if we say that we're busy. Another factor working against us is portion sizes. Let's take a look at a few examples from local restaurants. Comparing a turkey sandwich then and now over 20 years ago. Looking at the slide, you can notice one thing right off the bat that's different between these two sandwiches. In the sandwich on the right, the bread is significantly larger. So I'm going to guess that it's automatically going to have more calories. But what would you think? The previous turkey sandwich that you might buy out 20 years ago would cost you about 320 calories. And as some of you are probably guessing, in fact, this next version that you would buy out maybe at a Subway, a healthy turkey sandwich tops the chart at 820 calories. That's significant considering that if you're trying to adhere to a 2,000 calorie diet like most of us, that's almost half of your allocated calories for the day. And what gets me about this particular choice is that when you choose a turkey sandwich, that typically represents a positive and healthy choice. It doesn't even account for the fact that if you have a bag of chips or a soda on top of that. Let's take a look at this one. A small serving of fries, maybe from McDonald's, 20 years ago would have cost you 210 calories. Any guesses at what we're looking at today in terms of the larger portion size? This particular example is actually weighs in at 610 calories. So an additional 400 calories between then and now, just in terms of that bigger serving size. Let's take a look at breakfast options, our bagels. 20 years ago, we would be looking at 140 calories spent on a single plain bagel. Any guesses what we're looking at nowadays? That's right, 350 calories. And that, of course, does not even include cream cheese and anything else we'd like to put on there. And it certainly doesn't take into consideration a chocolate chip bagel. Just by looking at this particular slide, you're probably going to guess that this the slice of pizza on the right is going to come in at 850 calories, and you would be right. In fact, I'm looking at these two pieces of pizza. I think if I went out to a restaurant and I was served the slice of pizza at the left, I'd feel gypped. I'd want to know what happened to my pizza. Unfortunately, the newer, larger slices are associated with higher calories. Again, the calories for the slice of pizza do not include anything for a salad or a drink. So again, just a single slice of pizza almost is accounting for half of your daily allocation of calories. All right, let's take a look at the sodas. Originally, one of those small Coke bottles, 8 ounces, came in at 97 calories. Now, a 12-ounce can comes in at 145. And you've probably noticed when you go to grab something from a convenience store or a gas station, most often you see the 20-ounce bottles coming in at 242 calories. So if you get a soda out, you want to think to yourself, if part of a meal, you're adding at least almost 250 calories. And that's not considering the refill that typically comes along with it. So what can we do to limit portion control, especially when we're not preparing and serving the food? Well, one of the things we can do is we can ask for an appetizer size portion, a senior portion, or a lunch or a side dish instead of typically ordering a la carte means foregoing rice and beans at a Mexican restaurant, or perhaps the rice that goes and potatoes that accompanies a piece of chicken or fish. Another tip could be skipping an appetizer. Unfortunately, when we're ordering appetizers, we're probably not ordering carrots and celery. Typically, we're looking at breaded calamari, bang bang shrimp, things like that, which are going to almost cost you as many calories as it does for your entree. Instead, to fill you up, why don't you start off with a veggie packed salad? Not only is it lower in calories, it'll fill you up and it'll supply your body with valuable nutrients. Something to consider when ordering is to ask your server, to skip the croutons and go light on the cheese. Choosing olive oil dressing and asking for it on the side is also a healthy option. Please keep in mind, though, by ordering your dressing on the side, the intention is to limit the total amount of dressing you're putting on the salad. So if you're ordering your dressing on the side, make sure that you're not asking for extra dressing. Some other things to consider is before the bread and olive oil or bread and butter gets to your table, it's helpful to tell your food server, could you please hold off on bringing the bread and butter, or the chips if it's in a Mexican restaurant? Because if they're not on your table, you're not going to eat them. And I guarantee that when you leave the restaurant that day, that's not an item that you will miss. Typically, you're not going to walk away from your meal with friends saying, gosh, I really wish I should have ordered those chips and salsa. Those are my favorite. Instead, hopefully you'll be focusing on the good time and your main dish that you had with your friend. Another option to consider is sharing a main dish with a friend. If the two of you order similar food and have the same taste, this is a way that you can split the calories in half, literally, by sharing the meal. Taking half of your meal home is a wonderful option too. A tip that you might want to consider is, instead of waiting until you're done to ask for the container to go, what I would suggest is order the container when you order your food. That way, when your food comes, you immediately cut it in half, put half in the box, and set it aside. Otherwise, if you're like me, the longer you sit and talk with your friend and have that food sitting in front of you, the more likely you are to consume more than the allocated half. Something else to take a look at is there's healthier options when you're ordering your food. Typically, choosing whole wheat bread for sandwiches is a good option. A good way to include vegetables in your meal without it adding a whole lot of extra calories is to actually order main dishes that consist of vegetables as one of their primary ingredients, like stir fry, kebabs. Choosing pastas with a tomato sauce versus a cream sauce is another way to decrease calories. Overall, I think we know that creamy sauces and gravies generally equate to higher caloric content. When we order foods cooked in restaurants, we don't know how much butter and salt has already been added in the kitchen. So adding additional butter and salt is probably not a good idea. It's helpful to ask for steamed, grilled, baked, or broiled options for your protein option. Something else that will easily cut down on your calories is sticking to water. If you're not a water fan, order a low-fat milk or perhaps unsweetened tea, but wanting to definitely avoid soft drinks with added sugar. In terms of ordering your sides, rather than add the macaroni and cheese or the potatoes au gratin, consider doubling the vegetable and leaving the starch off completely. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to ask for clarifications. Some of the questions you might considering asking is, how large is the serving, especially if you've never been to that particular restaurant before. Make sure to ask if you can split the meal with your companion. Most restaurants will allow you to split the meal, however, there might be some additional charge. If you're not savvy on the different terms used on the menu, you may want to clarify, does that mean that my fish will be fried? Because there's always different ways to prepare the food, and don't assume that when they say chicken, it's going to not naturally come out grilled. What substitutions can I make for the same price is another option. A lot of times the sides are listed on the menu, but there could be something else that's not listed that you might be able to get for the same price. When vegetables are listed as an accompaniment, make sure that you ask if they can be steamed. And then secondly, asking what are the different sauces made with? Usually you can, if you order a piece of fish or chicken or another protein that comes with a particular sauce, you should be able to ask for a substitute sauce. Or another term that I would suggest you get comfortable with is ordering something dry. Dry means without sauce. Usually these adjectives listed on this slide are associated with lower calories: baked, boiled, broiled, braised, steamed, seared, poached, stir-fried, keeping in mind to watch out how much oil they're using. But these are typically going to be associated with lower caloric content than these. These, although very yummy, are normally stocked with extra calories because you're adding a covering or coating to the food that you're ordering. Planning ahead is essential if you want to stick to a game plan. One of the things you want to avoid is arriving at the restaurant ravenous. If you have just come up off the golf course and are extremely hungry, you're probably not going to want to ask the server to hold back that bread. So it is healthy, helpful, if you can, to have a healthy snack before you go. Could you have an apple right after you get off the golf course to kind of fill you up and curb your appetite? You can call ahead and find out what healthy choices are offered. If you know where your group goes to eat out all the time, maybe get online and check out the calorie content of some of the items. You might be surprised to find that there's healthier options that are equally tasty, but you're not going to have to use all of your 2,000 calories in that one meal. So let's take a look at a typical meal at Bonefish Grill. So let's say you went out with your friend and you decided to limit how much bread and that wonderful pesto and oil you're going to have. So you only had half a portion. And when it came to an appetizer, you also decided to watch out what you were eating and order a half portion, splitting it with your friend. When it came to the entree, you had Lily's chicken, which is healthy. It's I looked it up online, and it's a piece of grilled chicken topped with spinach, feta cheese, and artichoke hearts. So there's definitely vegetables there. You decided to, again, stick to your healthy plan in order to steam vegetable medley, but you really couldn't pass up those potatoes au gratin. Again, when it came to your dessert, you were being prudent and again offered to split it with your friend. So in your mind, you've split down, you should have cut down on at least a significant portion of your calories. You had your regular soda, no cocktail. And when that wonderful food server came by with a refill, you were so thirsty, you decided to take them up on that refill. So let's see. Any guesses how much this is going to cost us with calories? Wow, 2,634 calories. That is way more than our allocation for the day. So just a half portion of the bread and pesto and oil ran us 300 calories. And bang bang shrimp was 395 for a half of a portion. The steamed broccoli was great, but it didn't matter because the potatoes au gratin was 260 calories. And even by throwing in just half of a portion of the brownie, it still ran us at 620 calories. And the soda was 400. So just looking at this, even if you were just to take out the soda, replace it with water, take out the bread, that's 700 calories off the total right there. All right, let's go over to Olive Garden. Let's say you went out to Olive Garden with your friend and you had two breadsticks. You decided to start with the salad, that bottomless salad that they have. And then you decided to order the lasagna classico, dinner-sized portion. You did decide to have a serving of dessert because it was your friend's birthday. You had the tiramisu. And again, you had a soda with one refill. Let's take a look. 1,860 calories. A lot less than Bonefish Grill, surprisingly. I know when I looked at this particular slide, I was thinking right off the bat with two breadsticks and the full serving of dessert that I was going to easily top the 2,600 calories on the previous slide, but that wasn't the case. So as I said, I would encourage you to get online. Any restaurant that has more than 10 locations is required by law to post all the calories for their items. So you really have a chance to look ahead and kind of think about some options you might not consider in person. So again, showing you online, there's extensive amount of information, and I think some of the choices will surprise you. It definitely makes you think twice about ordering something if you know how many calories are in that. And then you can decide, is this more important for me? Do I want to splurge on my calories at Bonefish Grill with that bang bang shrimp? Well, if so, maybe what I'll do if I know that I'm going there for a special dinner, what I'll do is I'll have a very healthy lunch, mostly a plant-based diet with a nice green leafy salad, low calories. And maybe for breakfast, I'm going to limit what I'm eating as well so that I do have a little bit of extra spare calories to spend on my dinner. So let's look at take two, an alternative, healthier option at Bonefish Grill. Now that I've looked at the menu ahead of time, I've got some ideas to try some different things that look tasty, but that I hadn't maybe thought of trying before. I'm going to still split an appetizer, but I'm going to order the sashimi, which is only 189 calories to split, which I might add the sashimi is pure protein. You can also notice that I've skipped the bread and olive oil altogether. I decided to order the grouper, 242 calories. I'd say I probably ordered it dry by looking at that. They didn't cook it in oil. I made sure and did a double portion of my veggies, and I stuck with water. Still going out to dinner at Bonefish, but look, I only spent a total of 545 calories, completely different. I didn't have to say no to my friends about going out because I felt like I couldn't afford the calories. I can still go out and have a very full, satisfying meal, but not overdo it. An alternative option at Olive Garden, again, we skipped the bread, but we had the same single serving of salad that we did before, but we switched our main entree because we checked it ahead of time and swapped out the lasagna classico with lasagna primavera with grilled chicken. Primavera means with vegetables, and we stuck with the dinner-sized portion, eliminated our dessert, Add water and bam, 680 calories. That's completely doable. So a couple of the key points, let's take a look. Number one, don't arrive hungry when you're going out to eat. And when you're going to a restaurant, make sure that you don't leave out the items that you do absolutely love. Otherwise, you'll feel cheated. Then work back from there. If you absolutely bang shrimp, for example, at Bonefish Grill, perhaps you order a green salad and split the bang shrimp, or have it as your main appetizer and skip the dessert. There's a lot of different ways that you can approach this. Make sure that you spend your calories on the things that you absolutely are going to die for. Don't waste calories on the bread and butter that comes ahead of time. You want to remember that we're eating for nutrition for our bodies, not just calories. So make sure that your food has good nutrients that are going to help your body run efficiently. Keep in mind that when you do order vegetables on the side, to make sure to ask them to leave off that yummy butter sauce. I was very disappointed to find out at Bonefish Grill myself that the reason why those beautiful, vibrant green vegetables tasted so good was because they were coated with a butter sauce. So don't assume that food comes dry when you order it from a restaurant. It's much easier to prep oftentimes in the back of the kitchen, cooking everything with oil. So make sure that you notate to your server that you want your food dry, no extra butter, olive, or oil added to it. Another good strategy is ordering that to-go box and taking half of your meal home. That way it's a done deal. If you stick to water or unsweetened iced tea, you're not adding any significant calories to your meal. Oftentimes when we are calculating our total calorie expenditure for the day, we forget to include calories in our beverages. Skipping dessert is always a good option. Again, though, if you've decided that you want to spend your calories on that dessert, think about other places in your diet where you can cut back different times. If you have any additional questions, please feel free to reach out to the Village's Health Learning Department. I hope this was beneficial to you and gave you some food for thought and different strategies that will help you eat more healthy out. Thank you for joining us.